Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking with the Dad. This week we have the UFC Mega Show. I'm almost introducing it the same way as the podcast because this is going to turn into a podcast. I'm 100% positive. Before we get into it, check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our website, all at Talking with a Dad. Other than the website, you can't do an at in front of a thing. You guys know that. You guys aren't dumb. It's talkingwithadad.com. Also on Podbean, Apple Music. I'll eventually get the foot out of my ass and get us on Spotify and Google Music and stuff too, but I haven't quite been that desperate to do anything yet. So, Steve, UFC Mega Show today. We had a fight card on Saturday. We have a fight card on Wednesday, and we have a fight card on next Saturday.
Yes.
All in Florida, right? All in Jacksonville, which is like the home of the fucking troglodytes, but that's fun.
Such a great word.
Cat just broke his way in here. This is a tragedy waiting to happen. I'm waiting. Oh no, he immediately left. Okay, well, weird. All right. So we had the. Do you want to start with the main event on UFC 249?
Yeah, let's start with the main event because first of all, this is going to be really clear and concise, folks. What a great card. UFC 249. What an amazing card.
Start to finish.
Start to finish. Even the worst fight on the card was still highly contested. And it was such a high bar for that evening. Michelle Waterson and Carlos Esparza.
Okay, that's exactly the same fight that I was thinking.
They had the burden of being on that card that night. But by the way, I think Michelle Waterson won that fight. But at any rate, that's not what we're talking about.
Really?
Right now. When I say win, she didn't win on. Let's just say this: no one in that fight got 30-27, and I believe that was one.
I 100% agree.
But in regards to Ferguson and Gaethje, man, so even when we're wrong, Zach, we're right, and I'm going to tell you folks why we were right, even though we were wrong, but we're still right. So you can still trust us as a source to consume media-wise, but we were wrong, but we were right.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing, right?
Go off.
We were going on the most available information we had about our good friend Gaethje, right? Justin Gaethje, up until this point, has been a very exciting fighter, and he was an exciting fighter that night. But he's always been the type of fighter to walk in, wade in for war, right? By his coach's own admission, he lost the Poirier and Eddie Alvarez fight because he got complacent and he got clipped, got a little sloppy, went in sloppy. But man, him and his coach, I believe his name is Jason Perilla, what an amazing pivot. Talk about fighter-coach dynamics, right?
Very good.
Me and Zach and I had talked about how Tony Ferguson wins fights and why I don't think he was going to beat Khabib because Khabib wasn't going to be drawn into that type of fight. He was obviously just going to take control of the fight in my mind. But Tony Ferguson has won fights because of his durability, in some instances, his dexterity, and his ability to keep that pace up for so long, right? And guys get drawn into a war, and then Tony will take a step back, and then the volume kicks up, and the striking gets a little bit more crisper. That did not happen this Saturday. Gaethje learned his lesson for that uppercut he took. I believe it was late in the second round or first round at the end when he got dropped. When he got dropped, and then made the appropriate adjustments. And this is what I'm talking about: a fighter listening to his coach, especially since you can hear him without any background noise. And apparently, they could also hear Daniel Cormier and those guys over there too. Yes. So fighters were actually taking their advice during the fights. He made the correct pivot, Zach. He didn't get drawn into a war. His counters were on point. That hook was there for him all day. Yeah. Right?
Have you ever seen, and obviously you're a much more experienced UFC veteran than I am, right? Have you ever seen someone go from, good striking, but can be sloppy at times and is going for that home run, and really the first two rounds is usually your way out, and if you go to 3, then it gets into bad water, to someone who had what I thought was very clean, very crisp, very powerful striking. Tony Ferguson has one of the best chins on the planet, apparently. You would literally need a harpoon gun to put that guy down.
Yes.
But Gaethje, man, even from his last fight to this fight, looked very good.
Extremely good. I won't say he looked clean and polished. I will say the punches were exactly where they needed to be, and he did exactly very intelligent, man. Very intelligent way to fight. And he brought it to Tony. And you know what, man? It was almost like watching a Diaz fight, but with more power. Allow me to make my case. I'm talking about either of the Diaz brothers. they usually beat you with volume, and over time, that amount of output, the damage you're taking from those punches, not only wilt your body, but they wilt your spirit because you're getting tagged at about 70%, which doesn't feel like much in the first round, but by the fourth round, it feels like you've been in a war and you can't understand how this guy is still going. Gaethje went almost full throttle. He pulled it back like his coach asked him to about an 80, and he's hitting him with raw power, man. And I was okay with the stoppage.
Yes,
only because
I was too.
The head shake, and it looked like he. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. I can't say without a shadow of a doubt, but that head shake is usually indicative of someone clinging to consciousness.
Yep.
Right. So that is, you know, we gotta protect the fighter. No shade to Tony Ferguson at all.
No.
I do agree with Dana. There may be something to cutting weight 2 times in the same month that could have impacted me. He did look a little slow, but you can't take anything away from Gaethje. And here's the thing about this, right? So can Justin Gaethje beat Khabib? Well, that's a whole nother episode. That's a whole nother episode where we're gonna look at it, folks. We're gonna give you, Zach and I are gonna give you all the information you need so you can bet appropriately. All right. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna break it down because we have to remember Justin Gaethje is a wrestler. I believe he had a collegiate wrestling career. Was doing collegiate wrestling while he was doing amateur fights. So that means the man knows how to sprawl, maybe good in the scramble, I would assume. He's got power, but we've said so many times, maybe this is the person to beat. Actually, no one's ever said this is the person to beat Khabib. Let's see how this thing plays out. And I want to give him all the credit he deserves for this win, for sure.
Yeah, so I actually didn't know this. Going into the fight, I believe he had the highest significant strikes per minute in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
And something else too that was like a really impressive stat that I actually never thought of Gaethje being a volume fighter in the way that those stats had really made him out to be. I knew that he was this 55er that had one punch power. We had seen it time and time again. His leg kicks are really good, right? That's one thing that you actually don't really notice about Gaethje is that in between every punch he's throwing a leg kick. He is throwing a leg kick at you. He is tearing your legs apart. It was going to be hard for Tony. If Tony wins this in the 5th round somehow, it was going to be hard for Tony to walk away from this. Literally, physically hard. Tony actually, I don't know if you know this, Tony sustained a orbital break in the fight.
Yes.
He's going to have to undergo surgery for it. So let's hope he gets out of that hospital okay. That's huge there. But really, really hats off to Gaethje. He kicked the shit out of the guy who kicks the shit out of everyone else. Right? Like, that's the thing. Tony makes you look like you got hit by a truck on the other side of your fight, and Gaethje did that to Tony. Actually, there's a really funny picture of it. This is a really probably bad joke of Tony Ferguson in the hospital with his wife afterwards. He got beat into looking like Dustin Poirier.
Dude, oh my goodness.
Did you think the same thing?
I thought the exact same thing. I was like, why does that man look like Dustin Poirier?
All right, I'm glad I wasn't alone on that one. Really, the other big story of the night, Henry Cejudo supposedly retiring.
I believe him. Doesn't mean he won't come back, but I believe the sentiment.
It can go both ways. There are rumors that he wants to go and try to make the Olympic team again, and see if he can get another gold. There are, he even came out and said that he's like, I've given 100% of myself to every single fight I've been in, and that takes a toll on you physically and mentally. Just committing yourself so heavily to do one thing that is in and of itself so strenuous, right? So there really could be a chance that Henry wants to hang it up. I'm not sure. He said time and time again that at this point he's done. I actually did not expect that at all. There had been rumors apparently of him wanting to retire, because DC said that immediately after, but I did not expect that whatsoever. Really, I truly didn't.
Another thing that might be going on there too is, I'm not going on, but besides the Olympic team rejoining the Olympic team thing, there's some talk about him in the WWE as well, which is no comment. No comment.
Listen, so let's make your money for sure, but I don't support any of the okay, let's be fair. The UFC doesn't pay their fighters enough. So yeah, you know what? Actually, I lied. If you want to go over the WWE after your career is over, 2-weight champion, defended his belt. Did he defend it at 125?
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. So he's defended at both weight classes. You know, the rumors were him go up to 45, which I think is a terrible idea. He's way too small for. I thought he was too small for 35 too, but you know, go to WWE, man. Make your money. Absolutely go and make your money for sure. I give you that. I still thought Cruz didn't look terrible in this fight. He didn't look good, but you know, he didn't look terrible.
He started finding some success towards the end of the round before he got clipped.
Yep. Really isn't much to say about Cruz.
Here's the thing about it, right? I'm not mad at the stoppage. Once I've looked at it a couple of times and I pulled feelings out of it, it was 11 unanswered hits, even if they were those rabbit punches which technically means punches to the back of the head, but these were just more pitter pat. I know. But but you know, you still got to answer that. Same, you know, Uriah Faber went through the same thing in a fight where, anyway, you got to answer it. You know what I'm saying? If you're scrambling up, you got to be defending intelligently. So if we look at Henry Cejudo's career, man, he's defeated 3 legends of the sport, one of which was Dirty on steroids when he beat him at the time. So beat Demetrius Johnson. Okay, we'll give him that one.
That one's hard. That one's hard for me.
Then went on to beat TJ Dillashaw. Clean. I gave him that one clean. You know, it took me a while to come around to that. Goes up. Definitely beat what's his name? Marias. No argument there. Beat that. Beat that dude. And now he's beaten arguably the person who was considered the greatest at 135, most title defenses. So yeah, you can ride off to the sunset with that one. You know.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't mind that he that he retires here. You know, it'd be interesting to see him go back and get a gold. It would be very hard. I think he's been out of that exact, you know, wrestling style because it's very different than the chain wrestling in a mixed martial arts or the half jiu-jitsu, half wrestling that you really have to be really good at. He's still probably very, very competitive. You know, I don't know how hard it is to make the Olympic team at that small, right? Yeah. How many people are at 35? Or actually, what's the Olympic weight? Is it 32?
I have no idea, but he's 33 years old.
Okay. But that's not the age thing. I don't think it matters. I think it's how many people are fighting at that weight class in the Olympics, wrestling at that weight class in the Olympics, and how hard would it be for him to get back on a team, right? Could he be competitive? You know,
he's saying that he's tired of cutting weight, so he would have to cut weight.
Yes, he would cut a lot of weight, I think.
Here's the thing, though, right? So I want to show Henry Cejudo the respect that he deserves, but I know that a lot of this also has to do with his contract and how much he was getting paid. You have to remember that he won both those belts on his original contract. I'm not privy to it. I don't know what his show is and all that stuff. And some people are thinking Ariel Helwani being one of them, that this is just a way to renegotiate his contract.
I agree.
If it was a bad pivot because Dana White is already talking about what's this guy's name? Peter Yan. Yeah, they're ready for that fight. So if it's against Aljamain, I'll be tuning in for that one.
Yes, for sure. By the way, he won the gold at 55 kilograms, which is 121 pounds.
Yeah, he's not.
So he's cutting 14 pounds over where he's at 30.
Yeah. But here's the thing, right? So how will history remember Henry Cejudo? You have, I'm going to say it in the most unbiased way, cringeworthy as he may have been. And I know a lot of that was for showmanship. Some people are good at it, some people aren't, but it still got eyes on him. You have to remember him by the fact the man was a 2-weight champion.
And a gold medalist.
If you can't say he's arguably the most accomplished combat
he is
athlete, you have to give it.
No one that has ever done that, right?
Yeah.
Even a lot of the super successful boxers never went to the Olympics because you couldn't fight a pro fight before you went to the Olympics, if I remember correctly. So it's considered amateur, right? You can't have your pro card and go fight in the Olympics, I believe.
I have to go check on that one, but that would make sense. I mean, you got a guy like Floyd Mayweather. It's interesting fun fact about a lot of fighters in America who went to the Olympics. Most of them, if you do your fact check on it, got robbed in the Olympics. Like some of the greatest fighters you would ever think of had a very poor showing in the Olympics, and it always had something to do with some shady European judge. But at any rate,
That's funny.
You got to remember Henry Cejudo based off of the stats, right? If you cut out all the cringeworthy stuff and you show me this guy on paper, I say without a shadow of a doubt, greatest fighter of all time.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with you. Let's see. Mayweather fought in the Summer Olympics in 96 in Atlanta, was a bronze medalist. First pro fight was October 11th of 96. So even just by that, I think my guess here is correct.
Look, it's not me. It's not me you got to worry about. It's the boxing nerds, because I'm going to put the appropriate tags to get them up in here, and then they start coming at you.
That's fine. That's fine. Let's see. Francis did the exact opposite of what I thought was going to happen.
I was really surprised you picked against him. I was like, all right, maybe he's seeing something I didn't see. I
think Rosenstrike's striking is very good.
Oh, it's immaculate.
Until you get hit by Francis. Everyone has a plan until you punch in the face.
Now, to be fair, Francis charged in on that man after the third leg kick, and he was like, yeah, this is not happening. You and I are not having a kickboxing match. This is an MMA match, and I'm not going to let you stand here.
20 seconds.
And, yeah, the punches he was throwing was straight schoolyard punches coming at him. He missed 6 of them, but it was the one that connected was the one that did it. And thought that man was seriously injured. So that's all I got on UFC 249. Look, the whole card was pretty fun, man. All right, it was. But we got to get to the future, Zach.
Yeah,
no one's talking.
We're gonna get to the future, though. What I did want to mention here is Bryce Mitchell throwing this dude into a twister 3 times.
That was some amazing grappling, wasn't it?
He's so good, dude. It was really funny because really what the note of that is: A, he's gonna get his camo shorts. Adidas confirmed that. Reebok, sorry. B, Charles Rosa going into this said that he was the better grappler and that he was going to have no issues with Bryce Mitchell on the ground, on the mat.
Now, to be fair, he escaped a lot of submission attempts, so you got to give that man his respect.
But he also got caught in 3 different separate twisters. The last one was so close, dude.
He got out of all of them. You got to give him respect, but you don't mess with a man that wants camo shorts. That tells me a lot about that guy right there and there.
Yeah, that's fair. Pettis, Cerrone, I thought that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's a competitive fight.
Yeah, it was all right. Not great. Verdum kind of getting outclassed, I think. Even in the striking, too. He got outclassed in the striking by a guy who's, I swear, was like 55 years old. Olenek, 42. I think I saw a fun fact where he's the only person to have a bout in 4 decades or something.
Really?
Like the 90s? Yeah, 96, 2000, 96, 2000, 2010, 2020s. 4 decades. His first professional fight, which was, because this is back when they had 3 in a night. He had 3 fights in a night in November of 96 and then fought again in April of 97.
Grand Prix fighting, man. You know, you just it's got to happen. Bellator was doing much better, in my opinion, when it was that format.
Yes.
Did you ever catch any Bellator fights back then?
A little bit, not a lot though. He actually fought in Bellator. I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's another heavyweight. 3 heavyweights that came over from there, and one of which was the last guy your boy Hardy fought and lost to. What was it? That big Russian fella. Yes.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Let's move on.
Let's get out of here, man. So
Wednesday this week, May 13th, we got fights coming on. Anthony Smith, Glover Teixeira.
The fight no one asked for,
but everyone's gonna watch. Honestly, only interesting fight on the entire card. Michael Johnson fights on the prelims. Andre Arlovsky fights on the prelims. That man's probably need a new jaw again. The man with the best mullet in the world, Ricky Simone, is fighting Ray Borg. It's always nice to see Ray Borg back.
You gotta say it the right way. Ricky Simone. Come on now.
Yeah, Ricky Simone. That's pretty much it. Honestly, I have Anthony Smith taking this fight.
You got Anthony Smith versus Glover.
Yeah. Oh, Ben Rothwell, OSP. Again, don't really care too much.
Where the heck are you pulling your fight cards from, man?
I just go to Google and look up UFC schedule.
Yeah, see, they changed the algorithm on that. I've not been doing good. So here's the thing, right? So Zach, I got to ask you an honest question. You're not pumped up for this card, I can tell.
I'm going to watch it. No.
So
my enthusiasm in talking about the fights is much different than my enthusiasm to want to watch the fights.
So here's the thing, though. It's the only game in town. Isn't that amazing? Let's just historically think about where the UFC came from. We're talking about this obscure thing with guys who thought they knew real kung fu showing up to get murderized. Right? And now it is literally leading the way in sports coming back to this thing. I don't care what anyone says. You know who's really upset about this? You know who's really upset about this? Oscar De La Hoya. You know why Oscar De La Hoya is really upset about this? Because for all his bravado, for all the boxing promoters that talk crap about Dana, and Dana's cringeworthy, and he's an easy target because he makes himself a target.
Yes.
The man said he was going to get it done, and he's got a team that got it done. In actuality, everyone was hoping that he was going to fail. I don't care who it is. Like all his underground haters, they were one positive test,
including football and baseball. Yeah. Those guys all wanted him to fail. Absolutely.
But it's, we're back and it's the only game in town. And apparently, if I'm to believe Dana, obviously ESPN's not going to reveal the numbers, but they did some really good numbers.
Dana can say whatever he wants, man. He can say whatever he wants. No one's going to argue with him. They
did really good pay-per-view numbers, apparently. And they also did really good tune-ins for the actual preliminaries. Like, amazing.
Yeah, I was glued, dude. I was glued.
But
Definitely wasn't playing RuneScape during.
So here it is. Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira, right? So this is, let's be realistic about who Glover Teixeira is. He's old, slowing down, but the man is still a legit black belt, and he's still got legit punching power in both hands. 40 years old. Man's got great punching power in both hands. Anthony Smith is going to have to be on his P's and Q's because we have to be realistic about who Anthony Smith is. To this date, the biggest feather in his cap is not Rashad Evans or Shogun Rua. It's the fact that he beat Alexander Gus, because no one actually had him winning that fight.
Beat the brakes off of Gus.
Yeah, beat the brakes off of him. So I'm going in this looking at it realistically. I'm going to go with Smith purely on age bias, and I think that he's improved enough where he's going to be able to give Glover some looks, but I would not be surprised if he gets knocked out either. You understand what I'm saying? It would not surprise me if Glover clipped him with something.
No, I see
that's a little bit too much. Ben Rothwell versus Ovin St. Preux.
Exactly, man. And that's a co-main, by the way. That is a co-main event.
We'll see how Ovin St. Preux. You know what? He's doing what John Jones never did. It's going up to heavyweight, right?
Oh, I was wondering where you're going with that.
No, there's only one place to go. This man, even though that was a low impact fight for John, I've never seen anyone get slammed as much as Ovin St. Preux in that fight with John Jones. Alexander Hernandez, Drew Dauber. I'm just tuning in because of sports, but I am looking forward to the Ricky Simone fight, and then Ricky Simone versus Ray Borg. Ray Borg actually. I think he's a great jiu-jitsu practitioner, and I think his striking's clean up. He's someone that I'm still saying to look out for because I just think that maybe the lights and who he was fighting when he fought Demetrius Johnson, and you have to keep that in perspective. Like, there's no way he didn't walk in there and get a little nervous looking at Demetrius.
He missed
over
weight
there.
His last fight too.
Yeah, so I'm looking at this, and I think I'm gonna be doing a little little phone perusing through this card, but. What's on the preliminary card? Who's on there?
It's not good. It's not good. We have fights up on another fight night on Saturday. On May 16th. There's nothing announced, by the way, between May 16th and June. There's rumors of the 29th for Tyron Woodley, but nothing confirmed, I don't believe yet. Again, on the 16th, not a great card. It's something, and that's what we're here for. We'd love to see it. Actually, a few pretty big names on it. I can't really dismiss it. There's I just don't think there's many great fights on it. Obviously, I would
definitely tune in for the Claudia Gadelha Angela Hill fight
for sure, and I'd watch Edson Barboza fight too. I'd watch Eric Anders fight.
Your boy, please say it correctly.
Yeah, sorry, your boy, Eric Anders. But Alistair Overeem versus Walt Harris. How could you root against either of these guys? Right?
Yeah.
How do you root against Alistair Overeem, the only man to take enough steroids to kill a horse and then kills Brock Lesnar? Fighting against Walt Harris in his first
Yeah.
fight back, since the tragedy that struck his family, right?
Yeah.
How do you root against either of these guys?
You know what's crazy about the Alice Overeem? If you look in UFC heavyweight history, worst knockouts, he's on there at least 4 times.
Yes. The man has been knocked out, I think it's over a dozen times. It's well over a dozen times. You might be looking at 2 dozen. Right?
And Claudia Gadelha versus Angela Hill.
Good fight.
This is gonna be Angela Hill's kind of do-over, right? So she got choked out in her season in Ultimate Fighter by Carla Esparza. She's been choked out by Rose Namajunas. Yeah, this for me, she's made strides. She became
what's
the
crazy?
Invicta champion.
This is Angela Hill's 3rd fight this year.
I know.
She fought in January and in February. Won both of them, by the way, and is now fighting again in the first half of this year.
Yep. And Claudia Gadelha is not an easy out for anyone.
No.
At all.
For sure not.
At all. Whoa, this is what weight division is this? Strawweight? Really?
Yes.
Okay. Did I miss something?
I don't think so.
Wait.
Wait.
What's going on here? Is this just wait, hold on for a second. Why aren't these women wait, hold on. 35. Oh, that's right. They made a medium division. I forgot about that. The one
you forgot about the 15 division?
Yeah, totally. No, I misplaced the weight class. I thought they were at 120. I just realized because I was just telling someone the other day. I was like, man, if only there was a 115 division for the show.
No, she needs to go to 105. She needs to go to Adam weight.
Wait, yeah, she needs to go back to the weight class she was at before.
Yes.
Oh man, I just had a total. You know what? I'm still going to tune in, man. It's live sports and it's fighting,
absolutely.
And it's going to be. I think you know what's a great thing about this too is captive audience, right? So every fighter, not saying they will, but every fighter should come into this situation, especially guys like Ben Rothwell. No disrespect, a lot of people love him. He's a strange man, but I've enjoyed his fights. You should walk into this knowing that you're the only game in town, and this could be a chance to become a household name. Let's be realistic about it. There are people probably watching now that we're not watching before. So, yeah.
So here's the issue. Wednesday fights, they're on ESPN Plus. They're not on regular ESPN.
Yeah.
Fight night on Saturday, which will still be the only game in town, which has the bigger names on it, obviously.
Oh yeah, both.
That's on ESPN. Yeah, this is on ESPN Plus.
You know what? Might be a good time for a trial, folks. You know, get yourself a 7-day
trial. Use the coupon code Talking with a Dad. ESPN.com. We'll make that happen.
Fraud. It's not going to get you anything.
It'll get you 8% off of the free month. They're actually going to take days away from you.
Well, here's the thing, though. You know, a lot of people, 50 million subscribers for Disney Plus. Some of those got to have the package, right? So they're going to tune in.
There's going to be 25 million people watching this card and thinking this is the top of the top.
I know an instant way to upset you right now. Instant way to go take you from sport analyst to upset person. And no, it's not talking about Call of Duty. Your boy Conor McGregor throwing shade at Justin Gaethje.
Dude, that's a guy who didn't he flake out of the Gaethje fight? Wasn't that was on the card after he fought Cowboy? No, that was on the card to fight that night that he fought Cowboy. And
there was some talk. It was never officialized. No contract signed or anything like that.
Right, because Conor wouldn't sign the contract. I agree. He threw shade at Gaethje. He threw shade at Tony. He threw shade at Khabib again. Like, no one wants to watch Khabib Conor 2. I'm sorry. No one wants to fucking watch that. I don't want to see Tony Ferguson fight Khabib. Conor. I don't care. I think Conor gets laced by Ferguson. I think Gaethje probably beats him too. I had originally thought for a long time that was a really bad matchup for Gaethje because of how slick Conor striking is. That last fight changed my mind. I don't think Conor stands a chance in the top 3 at 55, and he for sure does not stand a chance in the top 3 or 4 at 70.
Here's the thing, right? So I still give Conor 50-50 chance against Gaethje because of his striking prowess. But after seeing what I saw on Saturday,
I don't think it's 50-50. Give Conor 30%. I'll agree with you. 70-30. But man, Conor seems to do what Conor wants to do when he's in the ring. But that's because he has the respect of the people, I think, that are across from him for the most part. That's obviously what happened with the Cowboy fight. Cowboy notoriously does not do well against people that he respects. There was very minimal.
You got to forget that fight, right? Because that was like that was a gimme for sure. Like anyone that went in there thinking Cowboy had a chance, I was like, this dude's
fair.
This guy's gonna get knocked out. If you go back, I think the best Conor I've ever seen was when he beat Chad Mendes. I watched that fight every once in a while, and there was a point where Conor hits Chad Mendes with basically a good old-fashioned 8-hit combo from Tekken.
Yeah.
And that was like the best striking I've ever seen Conor do. Also, the 4-hit combo he hit poor Eddie Alvarez with, that's become a gif now
yes.
Like that, you got to remember who you're talking about, you know. But I do think that after what I saw, Gaethje has made some adjustments, and I think that he would give Conor a look. And you know what? Conor's got a chin, but I don't know how well it'll stand up against that. How good
of a chin does he have? I don't think he has the same chin that Ferguson has. Let's be fair. And that was a Ferguson who was depleted after 2 weight cuts.
Man,
right?
I think my buddy Zach, the one you met, the one you said go to the gym with, best description of Tony's situation, man. Like he fought so many high-profile fighters, so many dangerous fights for so long. And then, like it just, I won't even say fighter.
Way that he was staying on the top of that division without getting a title for that long. No one can. No one fights the 1 and 2 guy every single time they fight for the last decade and goes undefeated. Right? No one does that. Tony did it. Only person to ever do it. And probably will be the only person to ever do it. Because for some reason, the UFC over the last decade did not want to give this guy a title shot.
Well, to be fair, you know, Khabib, that fight hasn't been canceled for no reason. Either one of those guys has been injured, but he should have just been made the champion a while ago, right? Like in the interim champion thing, if there's a vacant title or someone's absent, you know, I think
love exactly what Gaethje did with it. Put it on, and he immediately threw it to the ground. And Rogan's like, "What? You don't want to wear the belt?" He goes, "No, I'll wait for the real one."
Yeah, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be a great fight, man. I think it's going to be a really good fight, especially if it's coming up in May. And we got to talk about the elephant in the room. This has nothing to do with Wednesday or any of the fights coming up in the future. But I just want to send a message to Stipe, who I love as a person and as a fighter. I think you should think about signing on the dotted line soon, because the language they were using to describe that situation, I don't know if you caught any of that stuff.
So
it's not.
Here's the situation, right? Stipe's coming off of a retina surgery.
Yeah.
So he wants the ability to have a full camp. The UFC does not want to commit to letting him have a full camp. The UFC wants him to fight in a month instead of the 2 months or 5. I think he does a 5-week camp, right? They don't want to allow him to have that time. He said time and time again he has no issues fighting DC, and he even said that he said, "Hey, if I didn't have this retina surgery, me and DC would have fought again, and we would both be retired now." He's like, "I don't have any interest in fighting anyone else other than DC or the trilogy," and he's like, "We're both going to retire after. So give me my 5 or 6 week camp, allow me to fully prepare coming off of the retina surgery, and let's have the fight the way that it should be, and not on some short notice because the UFC wants that."
Right. No, I 100% agree with it, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is the writing on the wall. So I do think that they were going to play a little hardball with him, and they more than likely will allow him to get a full camp. But you can never take for granted the fact that you know, DC might get tired of waiting himself, and if they ask him like, "Hey, if he's not ready to go, will you fight Francis?" DC's not going to turn
yes. DC already said yes. DC said in a tweet today that if Stipe doesn't sign, that it's going to be him and Francis for the championship.
Yeah.
And man, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that look for DC, man.
I don't know if I like that look for Francis.
Well, DC gets hit, right?
Yeah, DC gets hit.
DC gets hit.
DC gets right.
He gets dropped. Right. We've seen it. Now, who's the person in the heavyweight division that if you get hit, you're going down? It's Francis. If he gets hit on his way in, I think DC's done. Now, if he weathers the storm the same way Stipe did, he's gonna do the exact same thing Stipe did. Take him to the ground, win the ground and pound, and win the fight. But you have to get to that point. You can't discredit, because Francis is such a one-dimensional fighter. You can't discredit the fact that it still has to get to where DC's better.
Listen to me, Zach. I love your optimism. Here's what's gonna happen, bro. DC might get clipped on the way in, but he's gonna drop. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna give that argument a little bit more credence. He could very well get knocked out. Right? We are talking about heavyweights. We're not talking about light heavyweights. Anthony Rumble Johnson caught him with a clean punch. That to this day, I don't know how it picked DC up and flew him across the ring, but it did across the octagon. But there is a chance, we have to acknowledge that Francis could knock him out with one punch. It's also very likely that DC will come straight for his legs and do everything he can to keep his head off that center line.
Yes.
And we'll be watching an all-out beatdown from that point on.
Correct.
But here's the point, right? So what do you do if you're Stipe? Obviously, I would want the 6 weeks, because I think people take DC for granted, right? You have to remember who you're walking in the ring with. We're talking about the second most dangerous man in the light heavyweight division. We're talking about possibly the second most dangerous heavyweight to ever walk this earth, right?
What do you put as number one? Do you put Stipe as number one?
No, Stipe he's defended the belts more, but for me, I'm going completely off of subjective feelings here. Cain Velasquez, pound for pound, did the most damage I've ever seen any heavyweight champion do before.
Okay.
Now we're talking about like title defenses. Obviously, Stipe has got him beat there, right? But when it comes to Cain healthy, ready to go, I think he would have destroyed Stipe. So I honestly do, but we'll never know that. So, but most dangerous man on the planet right now is Stipe, and he beat DC, and he beat him bad. So you got to remember who you're training for, though. You're training for Daniel Cormier.
Correct.
Like, this man is not an easy out.
Anybody.
Like, give me 7 weeks. Well, there's only one man that we know will beat DC after a year-long layoff. The greatest ever, dude.
I understand. So I don't want to get the quote wrong. This is what Steve said. I've already said I'm going to fight DC. He just likes to make noise. My team is working on securing a training location and dates with UFC. I have 5 belts at home. Don't need anything to sit on. I don't need to sit on anything. If I didn't have a torn retina, I would have fought and retired. That's what he said.
There you go.
The DC saying if Stipe won't fight, it's going to be me against Francis for the title. But like, man, I know who DC is, right? And you know how important he is to the UFC in both fighting and commentating, right? Don't get me wrong. John is the guy there, I think. But if DC wasn't there for John wasn't as big as what he is right now. He needed that opposite, and really the person to dominate against. But like, the UFC, I think, has to give Stipe the time that he needs. Honestly, I really do think that. I don't think it's fair for them not to.
You'd be robbing us as fans to not give us Daniel Cormier versus Stipe for the third time. And you got to give the fighter respect. Give him a chance to get healthy, to do what he needs to do. Zach has already said it very eloquently. Daniel, don't be a troll. Don't be a dude, man. Just let this thing happen. You got anything else for him, big guy?
That's it, man. That's it. We went 40 minutes almost.
Woo!
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. This is why we called it the UFC Mega Show. 3 episodes built into one. Coming to your doorstep very soon. Thank you again. YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, website, all Talking with a Dad.